Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Two Buck Sports Show. I am your co-host, as always, Rusty Buckets, coming to you from Northeast Mississippi, actually. My illustrious co-host is not the only one with that title, as I'm at my dad's house helping him recover from a little bit of surgery. So I want to wish a speedy recovery to Rockman. I know he watches these in his chair. So Pop's happy to be here with you. Hope you feel better soon. And I want to welcome in Uncle Buck, who is with me as always. How are you, sir?
Man, it's good. It's another scorcher here in North Mississippi. Not much different here than in Western Tennessee, there where you're from. But glad to see that you're back in the best state in the Union, Mississippi. And I wish it was under better circumstances. But I guess you got to take what you can get.
I mean, that's it. I'm grateful for a company that allows me to come and cover remotely and hang out with my dad while he's recovering. My boss and everybody was super understanding and appreciate them allowing me some flexibility. I've been able to do a ton of work here through the course of the day. I actually ran to our sister clinic here in Corinth earlier today and did some work and printed some stuff that needed to be done. So it's nice to be with a company that allows me to have that flexibility and do those kind of things. So shout out to my employer for sure.
Yeah. So, wish you a speedy recovery, Rockman. I know that's rough and it's going to take some adjusting, but hats off to you. Stay strong there, big guy. We're going to start this show the way that we start off every single Two Buck Sports Show. We are two best friends for over a decade now, and we don't get to catch up over the phone just as much as we used to. Busy life, work, travel. You know how it goes. So, Rusty, let's catch everybody up on what's going on. What's the best thing that happened to you this week?
A lot of good things are happening for both of us right now in life. And a lot of that, or all of that, wouldn't be possible without our mothers. And my mother had a birthday on Saturday. And so just want to wish a happy birthday to Mama Lee. I know she listens to the beginning of this show. She usually tunes out when we start talking sports, but she supports us and listens to the beginning. So Mama Lee, happy birthday. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you on Saturday. I was otherwise occupied and displaced, but I am happy to be able to celebrate you this week while I'm in town, and just again grateful for you. And she made a sappy post on Facebook yesterday, I guess while you're listening to this on Wednesday, about like chasing me and my brother all around the country in jerseys and washing uniforms and ball games and stuff, and just made me feel a lot of gratitude towards Mama Lee. So Mama Lee, happy belated birthday. I'm grateful for you.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mama Lee. I love her, and she loves me, and I know that for a fact. When we were cooking out for her birthday last weekend, she told me as much. Me and her and my wife, she just came over and barbecued with us. I thought she told you about it. I guess
I'm sure she did. Yeah.
So we danced the night away, as me and Mama Lee do every single time. It's like
many times.
Like the only time that I see Mama Lee, it's when there's some sort of live music around, and it's just like we dance. It's just love,
It's an unreal amount of times that I've looked up and seen my mom and my best friend dancing on a dance floor together. Like I hate that I can count that numerous times.
Yeah, she's a great dance partner, and she's a woman who loves to have fun, and that's something that your mom and my mom have in common. My mom always wants to say that she's old and beat up and everything else, and drawn on about it, but they are both physically much younger than their actual age, and mentally much younger than their actual age. And they are both tons of fun, and neither of them are scared to cut a rug.
Mama Lee can literally be sitting there with you complaining about her aches, pains, and ailments, and she'll hear a little music, and you'll see them shoulders start moving. And next thing you know, you'll see this, and she's heading out on the dance floor.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Mama Lee. I hope you loved it. You got lots of love here on the Two Buck Sports Show. So, my best of the week is we're starting travel ball this week, and I never thought I'd be like, me. I am very much a person who likes routine, and I like to be at home a lot. I like to have intention. I try to be intentional with the time that I spend with my family, and I don't want to share a lot of that. And so travel ball has always been something that I was kind of like icked about, like just the amount of money and travel and time and all that kind of stuff, given the fact that we've got 3 other kids. But I got to say, like, we've started practicing. We do 2 practices a week, and I'm all in. I've loved it, and I love seeing my son really take hold of it. You know, we used to play park league ball, every sport that you can play at park league ball, and it was like you go to the games and then you come home and it's just like, okay, whatever, until the next time I tell you to go. We got a game, you know, you never thought about it. But it seems like this year Braxton with the travel ball team, he has very much been like on my pant leg at all times, like tugging on, like, hey, can we go throw? Can we go throw? I got to get better. Like, I know I can't let the ball get past me, you know. So he's a lefty. His coach really wants to play him at first, but the reality of it is that there are some kids that are he's a good ball player, but there's just some kids that catch the ball better than him. And you can't play first base if you can't keep every single ball in front of you. And it's like he's clocking this now. He's making note of it, and he's coming to me, and he's like, "Hey, I got to go get better." And so it's really just it's been great. And so he plays his first game on Saturday here in North Mississippi in Saltillo. Funny enough, my nephew, his travel ball team is going to be in the same league competing against the son's team. So at 2:00, both of our teams square off against each other.
That's cool.
So it's like going to be a family reunion there. And so it's going to be the first time that we've ever played against my sister's son's team. And thoughts and prayers. Because I don't want her to get her feelings hurt, but I ain't cheering for him, okay?
But I ain't losing. Absolutely not.
If my nephew has a ball that goes between his legs when Braxton's hitting, I'm cheering. Like,
absolutely.
Like, so.
You know, we're family until we step across those lines. Yeah. And if you're on the other team, like that ain't it no more. It ain't family no more. My sister
does not play fantasy football, so she's never competed against me in anything. Yeah. So other than board games, and so she should know what's coming, but she doesn't.
No. You know, and it's fun. Like, it's fun for like when we have fun and play sports and that kind of stuff. But it's always fun to watch the next generation. You know, your sons, my nephews started last night for his local high school at quarterback against Tisch County. And so hopefully they won. Hopefully, as I'm listening to this, I'm in a better mood. But they play tonight as of this recording. And so my middle nephew's playing tackle football for Mickey. And so it's just fun to watch them kind of understand sports and get the bug like we did at their age.
Yeah, it's a whole other thing. One of my big regrets as like a high school kid, I was one of those kids that I didn't care. I was just there to have a good time. I played basketball up to my junior year, then my through my sophomore year. Then my junior and senior year, I played tennis, and I enjoyed it, but I did it for fun and camaraderie. And I've always looked back and was like, what if I just took it seriously? You know, I didn't. I didn't take it seriously and try to be the best that I could be. And I didn't have the stature that I was ever going to play college ball or anything. And that was going to be, but looking back because of that, it was like, that was my only shot, you know, to really like contribute. So it's a sort of a regret. I don't think a lot about it, but I do wish that I took particularly basketball more seriously because I do love it. I do love playing and shooting and whatever, but I just was there to have a good time and it was fun, but.
Yeah, like George Strait, not here for a long time, but here for a good time, right?
Right. So, all right. So that's the rosy part of our week so far. What's the worst thing that's happened?
I owe an apology at the beginning of my beef to Maggie. I thought
that was going to be for me. There's plenty of stuff you could apologize for.
Get out of here. I have had the freaking crud for the better part of almost a week now. It started really like Thursday night, Friday, and just the old sinus congestion, drainage and congestion, drainage and congestion. One nose works and the other one works and back and forth and really kind of culminated. Well, you got 2, one in the middle and one on either side. So it's just like a 2 is a total and then one on either side, right?
One nose works and the other one stops.
I guess nostril would be the technical term. We're getting all anatomically correct. But yeah, so I do owe her an apology because she is now fighting a similar crud, and so Maggie, that might be my bad. But man, I just like I've talked about it on this show before. I've been fussing about it all week. I lived at the beach for 6 years and had zero sinus and allergy trouble. None. Salt air keeps you nice and refreshed and cleaned out. I've been back in the Mid-South for 8 months, and this is probably the 5th time I've complained about this on this show. And it's just like, I don't know how I grew up like this, because, I mean, it was always like allergy, sinus, back and forth. And then 6 years, it wasn't even a problem. But I'm not complaining. I'm happy to be home. I love being in Memphis and where I'm at. Maggie, I'm sorry I got you sick, and I'm sorry that you're having to deal with what I've been dealing with. Thankfully, we know the shelf life. I'm better now, so it's about 4 or 5 days, and you'll feel better.
You guys don't know what it's like. And I mean, maybe so, because I guess you are healthcare professionals, but there's no more efficient way to spread fungus than having children in daycare at your house. So, if the good Lord ever blesses you, or you guys ever decide on having children or whatever, just know it's going to be worse. Like, you just sign up for it now, because they're going to bring home something from daycare once a month, and you're all going to get it. So,
thanks.
My beef of the week is daycare related. So it kind of transitions perfectly. I got 2 kids at daycare. That is a beef of mine. It's a monthly beef of mine, because I spend $1,000 a month in daycare. It's outrageous. Okay?
Wild.
But cost of living is going up so high that I can't let my wife stay home, So it's like, I guess I just have to eat it. Okay. Well, me and my wife, we're not good planners, I guess. We're not very good with the diaper bag in particular. It's the last thing we think about every morning when we're running out the door to throw enough diapers in there and to throw enough formula in there for the day. And so we decided it'd be a good idea. Like, hey, here is a brand new tub of formula, and here's a brand new box of diapers. Can I just leave these with you, and then you let us know when you're running low? Except for the fact they never let us know when they're running low. And so this week, on 2 different occasions, I got a call from daycare saying, Banks has no diapers. So I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, let me go home, get some diapers, and bring them back up here. And then today, I get a call from daycare. Hey, he don't have any food, and he's hungry and crying. And I'm like, okay, let me back out of this meeting I'm in. Let me make a smooth exit left here so I can go get the formula. If you'd have just told me last night, like, hey, we're running low.
Give me a heads up.
And I love the daycare that my kids go to. It's in the hood. And I'm telling you, they take good care of our
That's
kids.
awesome.
And so,
heck yeah.
It's the only complaint I have, and it's just like, and because of my job, I kind of go here and there and yonder and do my own thing. I'm able to do it, which is fortunate. It just also gets annoying.
Sure.
So,
I'm sure.
But we live very privileged lives. We're all good to go.
We do. This is the worst thing we got to complain about. We're living pretty high on the hog. So hopefully we didn't waste too much of your time, as we're 15 minutes into this thing. And we now officially transition to sports. So Mama Lee, Mama Vicky, we'll talk to y'all later. See you on the other side. So not a ton of Grizzly stuff going on right now. We are going to talk a little bit of Grizz, but the big NBA news of the week kind of came out yesterday with the signing of Steph Curry. The Golden State Warriors extended him another year that he's going to stick around out in Oakland. I'm trying to pull up the details now, but it's a 1-year deal.
$2.5 million.
There you go. 1 year, $2.5 million. It's he's sticking around, going to give it another shot, see what happens. I don't know, man. It still doesn't make me nervous or sweat Golden State at all. It's just simply they re-signed Steph at this point.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Like $62.5 million. I was trying to
$62.5 million. That's why $62.6 million. The 26-27 season, as Woj from ESPN, Adrian Wojnarowski, said this morning. Wow, $62.6 million. There's a lot of stuff I could do with that. There's an old archived episode of the 2 Bucks Sports podcast before we joined Bluff City, where we talked about exactly what we do if we hit the lottery. And $62.6 million to me is hitting the friggin' lottery, because I could work 6 lifetimes at this job and never make that much money. But good for him. We're a fan of people getting paid, and Steph Curry got paid, and it's a 1-year deal. You know, I'm curious if they're going to do this as like a year-to-year thing, or if this was just a patch to get him through to renegotiate in 27. But they did extend him 1 more year to stay in Golden State.
Yeah, it's just hard. And I think that this is a lot. To me, I feel like the pressure gets ramped up when you see him playing next to LeBron for the Olympic team. And it's because you saw there was obvious chemistry there. There's always going to be, like, it seems recently it seems like it's like a topic of conversation a lot. Like out of nowhere, will Steph and LeBron play together? And it was last trade deadline, I guess, where it was like the Golden State Warriors and Los Angeles Lakers are thinking about massive trade with each other, and kind of the rumbles was kind of getting Steph and LeBron to play together, and this $62.6 million 1-year deal. I mean, for me, I don't understand how that's tradable. I guess it's expiring, but like, no team needs a $62.5 million expiring contract. Nobody can swallow that, especially not the Lakers.
Yeah.
So you got to get off of a lot. But, it's interesting. It comes out of nowhere. And it's also, honestly, my first response was just like, wow, we've seen a $60 million a year for an NBA player. And honestly, of all the NBA players that's going to get paid, and eventually there's going to be a lot of them making $60 million a year, including some Grizzlies in the future. Steph Curry being the first one to get it is fitting. Like, he's amazing. He's truly an all-time Mount Rushmore top 5 player all time.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, no doubt. And he is setting a standard for what contracts will look like in the future. Anytime you see these first-time big deals, it's like you just said, like, wow, we're going to see multiple guys with this, and this now sets a floor. Now they're going to be guys that are going to be encroaching on $70 and $80 million. But he is going to. I thought this was interesting. Curry passes $500 million in career earnings on the court, joining 2 other players, LeBron James and Kevin Durant, are those are your 3 players who have ever earned $500+ million in an NBA court. And because of the over 38 rule due to his age, the 1-year extension is the maximum that Golden State could offer. I thought that was an interesting tidbit to it. He's guaranteed currently over $178 million over the next 3 years of the Warrior deal, as the extension got signed today. To me, I see all this like them, and then the signing of Lonnie Walker with Boston. These teams are just trying to keep up with Memphis, man. That's all this is.
It's a conversation that we'll get to, but that contract, he earned it.
Absolutely.
But also, that's a lot of that is taking care of your man. It's Steph Curry's franchise. When you think of Golden State Warriors, you will never think of anybody other than Steph Curry forever. And so that's taking care of your dude. And
sorry, Latrell Sprewell and some of these old guys, man, but that's Steph's team now.
Baron Davis. Sorry. I'm sorry. So I thought about this. Do you remember when Mike Conley signed his contract in 2016?
Yes, it was the highest pay. Yeah.
That was a 5-year, $152 million contract, averaging $30 million a year.
And we've doubled that now in less than 10 years. We've doubled that.
Right. And
wild, man.
A $30 million contract now is, a role player,
offensive.
A good role player.
Yeah, it's offensive to a superstar.
So
Jeez.
Good for Steph. I mean, I love him. I've always been vocal. I've always hated Golden State, but he was always the least hateable out of any player on the team for me. I always rooted for Steph. Yeah. I hated Draymond. I hate Clay. But Steph Curry is a trailblazer. He's a pioneer. He changed basketball forever. And I root for him.
His wife might be annoying, or used to be. He kind of got her to pipe down. We don't hear much from her anymore. But I agree. Of those guys, he is the most likable. he is the most likable. That's why I'm gonna leave that alone. He's the most likable of that group that played in Golden State, including their head coach, who's a goon who was exposed in the Olympics with his rotations. But congrats to Steph. Get your money, get paid. Congratulations on finishing behind the Grizzlies in the Western Conference next year.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. That's easy.
Yeah.
What else you got to get to, Bussy?
Yeah, so it's kind of a topic. Easy for you to say, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a topic that's been vetted on multiple shows. It'll be vetted on multiple shows. Like the Memphis Grizzlies made a move this week, and they cut Mama D Diakite. That's it. I get there in eventually. Mama D Diakite was cut by the Memphis Grizzlies just this week. Happy trails, sir. Thank you for your service in Beale Street Blue. Basically, it was to get Zaire Williams off this basketball team. That's all he did for us, right? We never got any meaningful minutes. My man never even made the preseason. Probably didn't even practice, but
probably never showed up.
No, he never even looked at housing. Probably didn't pull up the Zillow app for Memphis at all. So
Right.
Diakite is now no longer a Memphis Grizzly, which leaves an obvious place on the roster. You can house 15 full-time NBA contracts. You can have two two-way contract, three two-way contracts, and you can have 15 full-time roster spots. We now currently sit with 14 after the signing of Luke Kennard, which leaves one seat on the bench. We discussed this earlier this week on the Daily Grind. Uncle Buck, have you had any change of heart, any more thoughts? What are your thoughts about that open roster spot?
Yeah, so this has been, like you said, it's been well vetted. I gave my thoughts on the Daily Grind on Wednesday when we went through Wild with Luke. It was a lot of fun. Go back and check that out after you watch this.
Yeah.
But I'm just very firmly in the camp to where you just take care of Scottie Pippen Jr. And I know that's being very warm-hearted, and that's living in utopia a little bit. Like, I know this is a business. I know that emotions do not take place a lot in professional sports, and I'm not arguing that they should. However, he has earned that spot, and he is an integral piece of the 24-25 Memphis Grizzlies, and he has not been taken care of with a contract yet. And so that is the simplest way I can put it. I understand, and I understand your point of view. Take everybody through your point of view real quick, but just know from the start, like, we're not arguing about this. Like, I get it. I'm just firmly in the camp to where, like, he's earned it, and I don't really know what you do with it. If you're going to sign him anyways. Even if there's a trade down the road, you're going to end up signing him.
So my thought is, then why do it now? We're on a great, very team-friendly deal. Look, it's not like, and to be fair, I love Scottie Pippen Jr. I do think he has earned a spot on this team. You said an integral part of this team. I think he's going to have a role on this team. I don't know that it's going to be as big as we are kind of thinking it's going to be, but there is a role for him in that backup point guard role, particularly given Derrick Rose's health, Marcus Smart's health. Like, there's going to be some times early in the season where he's getting a lot of run as a backup point guard. But there's not any time on this planet where I want him taking minutes away from Ja Morant, away from maybe like a Marcus Smart. I think he can be a good filler. I do think we will sign him. Here's what I think. My point of view is I think we leave that roster spot open as a break in case of emergency thing, where let's say it's November, like I said on the Daily Grind, and Edey tweaks that ankle and we need to go make a move and pick up a big, or we do decide that we need a scoring big. You can pair an open roster spot, move a Luke Kennard, move some piece, maybe a Santi Laravia, JD type deal, and bring back a guy that's got a higher salary. You've got that open roster spot. You can even bring back a couple guys like that, kind of tilts the board in our favor to where we can then bring in what we need if we need it. There's also the chance, Drew, where this team is as good as we think we are. We might be 21-9 at some point this season, like you, Luke, and I predicted on the Daily Grind last week, 2 weeks ago. And we may not need it. And then at that point, you come to March and February, we're past the trade deadline. This team is humming, and you say, you know what? Pip, you've earned it. You've given us your 50 games as a two-way. You've averaged 9 points and 4 assists a game, or 7 points and 5 assists a game, whatever it may be at that point. We're going to go ahead and take care of you and sign you now. There's a track record of Kleiman taking care of his two-way guys if they earn it. See Gigi, see Vince. But remember when they signed in like late February, March. It was later into the season. It was not in the off season. And clearly we didn't know what we had in them. So that's also that. There's that caveat. I think we leave it as a buffer. It's a break in case of emergency. If you need to go get somebody to be a filler, and if you haven't filled it by the trade deadline, then I'm all for signing Scottie Pippen Jr. I just don't think you do it now. It's like buying milk. You drink it one day and then be like, well, I'm going to go buy some backup milk for when this one's gone. Or you make a special trip to go to the store and get it. Versus like, I want to finish this milk, and then when it's gone, then I'll get more milk, right?
But then you run the case of getting stuck with no milk at all.
We ain't talking about a snowstorm here in North Mississippi. We ain't making milk sandwiches. We're just talking about a regular day.
All right. So again, in a whole, I respect it. Like, I get it. I take a little umbrage with the break in case of emergency thing, because when I'm thinking like, oh, we're making a move, like I'm not in the business of trading one person for two persons. Like I want to package together a few things and get back one really awesome thing. And in that case, you're not worried about a roster spot. And so I get what you're saying, but like he's going to play a very vital role in this team. And say you don't sign him in 50 games, everything goes well, you sign him. Okay. That's fine. You can do that. You've now had your flexibility or whatever, but you carry an extra roster spot into the season. What are you going to do with that roster spot? Like you leave a roster, but the point of having a roster spot open is for flexibility in case you need to bring someone in. Like what position are you bringing someone in which there's somebody on their couch that makes a difference?
I mean, if you need a warm body, like we showed last year, we went and got a center. Again, it was Bismack. He wasn't good, but we needed a body. It's flexibility, and Kleiman has shown that he likes flexibility. All that talk about money will be no option. We avoided the first tier and the tax like the plague. And so there's clearly like he wants flexibility. And honestly, like it could be used literally for anything. I mean, there's a ton of free agents out there that are still looking for teams hadn't signed. There's guys that are going to be floating around that could be like a stopgap. And I like look at it like again, let's say that Edey gets hurt, he's going to be out for 6 weeks. Like look at it as a filler for that. Like it's not like again that position's probably not going to be a superstar that's going to come in and change the dynamics of this team. It's flexibility in case you need it.
Yeah, and you know what? I would argue that if this team is as good as we say we are, and you sign Scottie Pippen Jr. tomorrow, then when it comes time to put up or shut up, trade deadline time, and we're good, then it's very possible that he has outplayed that contract because we've always signed these guys at very reasonable contracts, and he becomes a tradable asset, but he's not if he's, a two-way guy. I'm thinking of deals that get you a wing, a big wing that, we've dreamed of, or a backup center, just take your pick. You package Luke and Scottie Pippen Jr. or an assortment of different players to go get another really awesome player. Yeah,
hey, Eric,
I think he's going to be of value at whatever contract he signs.
I think this is a worthy exercise to do. I want to put a caveat here, okay? I like Scottie Pippen Jr. I think he's a great basketball player. I think he can be a backup point guard at the next level. You heard that, right? Like that's the groundwork. There's the other half of this show, not me, once said the only time you get excited or been out of shape about Summer League is when somebody's bad.
Right.
Scottie Pippen Jr. had a good season last year. He had a great Summer League.
Yeah.
We don't know how he's going to fit on this team as it's constructed. We really don't know how Gigi or Vince or any of these guys are going to fit. So what's saying that Scottie is that piece that's absolutely going to play a vital role, an intricate role behind John Morant alongside Marcus and Dez? And what's to say his game maybe gets in the way of what Ja and Dez try and do?
I mean, you run that same risk. If you're talking about just team continuity, we know he can play basketball. But you run that risk with team continuity anytime you sign a free agent or anybody, make any trade. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about team continuity. I've seen, his skill set. Is the only negative I can see about him is that he's short. But, I mean, he handles the ball well. He moves well in transition. He's very opportunistic on defense. He stays in passing lanes. I think he's a great person to jot down in the lineup for 15 to 17 minutes a game, So
I forgot to plug in my computer, so we about to die. There we go.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. So I mean,
I get it. But also with some of those free agents,
disagree on this. But
with some of those free agents, they hang on. Some of those free agents, they do have some experience in a gelled, flowing NBA offense, which is still different than Summer League and a bunch of G League guys playing last year. So some of these free agents might be more suited as a plug and play, where we still are there still are a few questions around Scottie's game. Again, I'm pro Scottie. This is more devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Just floating that out there.
You were on Scottie before I was.
Yeah, I'm still high.
Like,
I'm still super high on him.
You know, I just look at it as if it were me. Like, I feel if it were me, I'd feel like I was owed a contract. And if you're worried about chemistry, like, get a guy in an NBA locker room that feels like what he's earned, he hasn't gotten.
Yeah,
and I just don't. And the argument of flexibility doesn't appease him, or it wouldn't appease me.
And I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I'm not worried about your feelings. Like finances and facts trump your feelings. Like, if you get your panties in a wad over a contract, like, that's on you. That's not on me as a franchise or an owner. Like, I understand egos are a big part of the game. If you get your ego bruised because I'm not paying you now versus paying you in March, that's less than a calendar year away. Like, that's on you, and that's toxicity we don't need on this team anyway. I think the conversation is being had. Look, Scottie, we're going to take care of you. We just need to see what we have now. Then we're going to make some moves at the trade deadline. You're going to get paid. Like, I don't think he's on an island with no communication. Kleiman has shown to be a very competent GM and having these conversations. And so it's not like he's out in the dark wondering what's going to happen. Scottie knows he's going to get paid. And I think, like, seeing his humble work ethic, how he's tried to work his way into this, I think he gets it. And I may be reading the room wrong, but I think he understands that he's going to get paid one day.
I think you're reading the room right. I think he's going to handle it like an absolute professional. I mean, he's got the lineage. You know, he knows how this is a business better than anybody.
Yeah.
You know, Scottie Pippen ended his career in Portland. You know, like, he did make a move away from those Chicago Bulls teams, and so I do believe he's going to handle it fine. I'm just the last thing I'll say about it is I think he's earned it, and I don't put as much. I don't see the upside of flexibility based on who is available for us just to go sign in a pinch. Like,
that's fair. And I don't, and you know, I'll just, on my side, I don't see the value in signing Scottie right now when we're still trying to make the math work, figure out how we're going to, you know, accommodate some big contracts coming, any moves that we may need to make, and to come full circle. Yes, I was high on Scottie Pippen then. I'm still high on Scottie Pippen Jr. now, but I've always been team, let's wait to sign him until we absolutely have to.
And I think one thing that's not been talked about enough, and it's because I'm not as knowledgeable on it, is everybody wants to talk about sign Scottie Pippen or not. What's his name? Wasn't making any money on the cap sheet. You know, you cut him.
Diakite, yeah.
And so I'm sure you owe him what he was owed.
It's like 1.6 or 1.8 million. It's not a lot, but it's enough.
It's not like it came off of the cap sheet. So if you sign Pippen, you're probably not going to be able to sign him at the number you want to sign him, or that he wants to sign anyways, because then you are bumping up against luxury tax limits.
Look at you coming around to my point of view there, coming around to my camp there a little bit.
We've been talking about this for 20 minutes. You never once talked about a cap sheet.
I didn't have to. You're just coming around to where we need to sign him later at the trade deadline when we move off some contracts. You move Jitty's unreasonable $6.8 million deal. I don't know why that dude makes so much money. Move off of that. Move off of some Laravia. I mean, for Jitty, though. Like, you move off of some of that money, and then you can pay him a respectable backup point guard salary.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not anti your point of view. It would make me feel good just to wake up in the morning and see, like, Scottie Pippen's got a 2-year, you know, $15 or $12 million deal. Like, just make me feel good.
Yeah. It wouldn't make me feel bad if he did. It would just make me feel better if I woke up to that news in March.
Fair. So, all right, we're going to take a break right here. Our first and only break of the $2 Sports Show. Appreciate you guys that stuck with us this long. We're going to get into college football. If you are not a college football fan, stick with us. We'll help you out in that department because we have enough college football passion to share and to give to our neighbors. So stick with us. We're going to talk postseason awards. We're going to look at who we think is going to make the college football playoff. Just kind of overview week one. We're going to hang out a lot with SEC. That's where we're at. And so he's wearing Mississippi State. I'm wearing Ole Miss, but we're not just going to talk about Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Come hang out with us. And I can't guarantee you at least once you're going to see the name Memphis pop up that we'll get to talk about for a second. So stick with us through the break here, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
seen some videos. I know they had it at AAC Media Day. Seth played Commissioner Pernetti. You didn't jump on the sticks there?
Yeah, have not partaken in it. I've warned our players, hey, once it gets to midnight, shut the damn thing off and get some sleep.
I will tell you, it is difficult to shut that thing off. It's a great game. I don't know if you've seen your ratings or anything, kept up with it. They've got every uniform possible. We're the highest rated G5, so they think very highly. It's one of my favorite games, so I had to get a new system for it. I've created a dynasty, but defense is impossible. It is, Coach, I couldn't stop the FCS Pandas.
Well, I mean, we got to teach you some defensive skills.
I know, I do. I will not be applying for any defensive analyst roles, and I do not envy Jordan Hankins whatsoever.
So you won't be in the stands yelling, play defense anymore. You're like,
hey, I get it. I get it now.
There's going to be, right, everybody else tells me how to coach a game and how to play it. Now it's twofold. Right now, everybody's, you should have run the, what about the smash pattern on 3rd and 6, Coach? What do you think? I'm like, oh boy, now everybody's going to have answers, and I can't wait.
Yeah, you got to send over your college football 25 resume before you can give any sort of advice to Coach on what they need to be doing.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
What does Team USA basketball look like for you in 2028?
And guards, you loaded. You got Ja Morant gonna be on their team. You got Anthony Edwards gonna be on the team. Jackson Tatum and Jaylen Brown revenge tour. If they decide.
Point guard from New York is gonna be there.
It's more so who you gonna have as the. I guess that's why a different book would have to be there. Anthony Edwards, you need someone who's previously played on the Olympic team to provide that veteran, because there's a different game. Not too different. It's still basketball at the end of the day, but it is a form of basketball that most of them players hadn't played in the actual Olympics yet. What USA needs to do, they need to get most of these players, and hopefully they can agree to it. That's probably what they're struggling now, is to play on the FIBA teams. Because the thing the other countries have the advantage on, the continuity, they all have the chemistry once you get to the Olympics, and USA always, it's a whole different team outside Anthony Edwards and
they do need to get them to say, look, y'all, let's run this twice.
Yeah.
Like that.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back, everybody. You can check this show out. Obviously, we're here on bluffcitymedia.co. Hopefully, you just watched the Anthony Sane Show at 12 o'clock before you checked us out. There's the Daily Grind in the morning, No Bluff, and Next Gen, Core 4. So many good shows. Check them all out, bluffcitymedia.co. But it's now time for us, as Uncle Buck so eloquently put it before the break, to talk about our most passionate, most favorite time of the year, and it is college football season. We had a small taste in week 0 back this past Saturday. Uncle Buck and I watched Georgia Tech and Florida State in what was an epic first game. Got a top 10 matchup, or top 10 upset, excuse me. And if that's foreboding for what the season's going to be, I'm freaking here for it, man. I root for chaos as a fan of an underdog in a year when we're probably not going to be great. I'm here for chaos, and it started with chaos. As we transition now into the official week 1, Uncle Buck, I'm looking for a lot more chaos this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all you can hope for in week 1, because week 1 is about 80% duds, which is pay games. It's where all the smaller schools fund their football programs by going and playing, the big dogs, just it's like a jamboree for all the big schools. Like Ole Miss is playing Furman. Yeah. So
we're playing Eastern Kentucky.
Ole Miss is going to pay for Furman's football program this year, and then they're going to come and let us warm up against them. And so that's 80% of week 1, and 20% is like marquee television games, games made for TV and big domes, not in home field, not home court advantage kind of thing. And
give me this. So we've got a few. You're right. We got a few marquees. If you're looking for one to be an upset, if there's one game where you're like, I think the higher seed will get knocked off here. Do you have one in mind? I've definitely got one that I think can happen pretty easy. All right. So mine could happen. First game of the day. West Virginia host Penn State. Now I like Penn State. They're talented. James Franklin has a very talented team. The little foreshadowing there. But It's going to be a freaking zoo. The Pat McAfee show is recording in Morgantown. There's going to be 1 million people descending on that little town. It's going to be chaotic. They're going to be singing Take Me Home Country Roads about Western Virginia, not West Virginia, but don't at me, in the stands. It's going to be nuts, man. And a fiery crowd like that, a scrappy West Virginia team, could upset the number 8 Penn State Nittany Lions. That's a hostile environment to go into in week 1, especially like you said, most of these games are tune-ups. Of the big ones that are playing this weekend, to me, I'm circling that one to watch Saturday morning at 11 for the Mountaineers to pull the upset.
Yeah, listen, Penn State, you will not see them on my list. Spoiler for our playoff teams. They finished as a top 10 team last year. They were in an Access Bowl. They played Ole Miss. I watched up close and personal. Ole Miss's defense was good at the end of last season. Not great by any means. And Drew Aller was absolute garbage. Missing open dudes, throwing on the wrong side of receivers. I mean, he looked terrible. I know they got a new OC. A lot of the media are banging the Drew Aller drum, but he's been there for, I think this is going to be his 3rd year. He looked awful last year. And so I'm not banking on it. I think I can find 2 teams that I can say, yeah, I get it before I get to Penn State. So maybe they're a revelation. I can see West Virginia upsetting them. For me, Vegas, and I heard this on a sports gambling podcast I was listening to. I can't remember which one, but they were talking about the game in Vegas. It is the USC Trojans versus the LSU Tigers. 80% of the money is on LSU, and the line has not changed. And so LSU is still a favorite by 4.5 points. I think these 2 teams are carbon copies of each other. LSU's all right, let's start with LSU. LSU lost a Heisman Trophy winner to the draft, got picked number 2 overall. Number 1 pick was USC's Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
Yeah.
Both teams had terrible defenses, terrible secondaries, and I just think they look a lot alike. They're both starting quarterbacks that have stayed in the system. They stayed their time and played a role as a backup quarterback for multiple years before taking over the job. They are going to be seasoned as much as a new quarterback can be seasoned in a system. So I'm high on Garrett Nussmeier. I like him. I think he looked really good in garbage time and the bowl game for LSU last year. I'm not as familiar with I forget the guy's name. He's got 2 last names, which is a typical.
I don't trust you.
Oklahoma quarterback is still got 2 last names, like Spencer Rattler.
Yeah. I don't trust you if you got 2 first names. 2 last names I might can get behind, but if you've got 2 first names, like if your name is like Mark Austin, I don't trust you. Just know that, Mark.
So let's see. What is that quarterback's name? Yeah, I'll find it in a second. But I think USC
Miller Moss is his name.
Miller Moss. Yeah, 2 last names. Don't trust it. Georgia is another team that always has Stetson Bennett and Carson Beck. I mean, just only last names. So
that's funny.
So I look at that to be a possible upset. You're not playing in Death Valley. If they were playing in the LA Coliseum, it's a huge raucous environment anyways, but they're playing in Vegas at the big hockey puck. And so that's my game. I've circled that could be an upset.
I mean, yeah, I think so. A couple things to note. Lincoln Riley has been ducking the SEC for years. He tried to duck this game and get out of it and couldn't. So that's number 1. Number 2, you know what happened the last time USC played an SEC school in a neutral field? They came out barking and on chains, and they came out like they were dogs, and they lost 52-6. So I think I'm a little bit more high on my upset. Maybe I'm a little SEC biased a little bit. I know you're not. I am a little bit. I think LSU can probably win that game. But maybe. I mean, USC has got some talent. They got Woody Marks from Mississippi State, he's a good running back and fits that system well because he's really quick. He's their starting running back now. Miller Moss has got some hype kind of behind him. I think USC is going to be a talented team. I look for it to be a good game, and it'll be fun to watch. Plus, it's on Sunday. It's the only game Sunday really worth watching, so I'm here for it.
So yeah, that's me. I like LSU as
Mhm.
far as like what it looks like. I'm just
Mhm.
they're going to have players. I don't know
Yeah.
who they are yet because they lost
Yeah.
Neighbors and Brian Thomas
Mhm.
Jr.
Mhm.
They lost Jalen
They
Daniels.
they added the kid from Mississippi State. Xavier Thomas he transferred down there. He was from LSU. He came to Mississippi State, got the big Google NIL deal, and transferred back to LSU. And is going to be the starter for him. I think you're right. LSU, it just feels like there's always a dude. They always have the one receiver that's just a dude. And if Nussmeier can get the ball to whoever that person may be, then LSU's got a real chance to win a lot of football games. And so we'll talk SEC for a few minutes. Most of them are tune-up games. You've got some smaller games playing last night, played Thursday night, Arkansas, Missouri did. Tonight, Friday, Oklahoma hosts Temple. But Saturday is when they all happen. You know, State kicks off at 5 o'clock. We host Eastern Kentucky in a tune-up game. We do get our first glimpse at two possible college football playoff teams. One of these teams is going to come into the playoff with one loss. Clemson plays Georgia in the Aflac kickoff game in Atlanta on Saturday at 11 a.m. That's an early kick for such a primetime game, but this is a chance for Dabo to show that, hey, I'm back. His team is supposed to be pretty talented this year. He's got an opportunity to do some damage now that the ACC looks wide open after Florida State laid an egg with DJ Ugalele. And then Georgia is Georgia. Carson Beck is back. That defense is going to be lethal. That's our first big matchup of the day.
Yeah, so get used to seeing big games at 11 a.m. This is going to be, I think it's going to be the new SEC game of the week kind of slate. They're going to get a very, very high-profile games at 11 o'clock, and that's because they want to run a game that everybody wants to see going right out of College Game Day. It's just going to be how it is. I know a lot of Ole Miss fans were upset. I think that there's a couple Ole Miss games. I'll look to tell you exactly which ones that were preset just for 11 o'clock. Like
when Georgia
Kentucky at home, 11 o'clock. Let's see, Georgia. No, it's going to be either 3:30 or 6 at home. But Arkansas, 12 o'clock start. Kentucky, a 1 o'clock start. I mean, or 11 o'clock. Ole Miss and Florida, 11 o'clock. There are lots of 11 o'clock games there, and it's because they want to come right out of College Game Day into a good SEC football game since there's no CBS game of the week anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think Clemson beats Georgia. I think we've seen the end of Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Next up, we got a trendy pick. A lot of people are high on Virginia Tech. The ACC's down. They have one of the easiest schedules in all of college football, and it starts Saturday 11 when they play at Vanderbilt. And so I'm not really sure there's much to talk about there other than Virginia Tech will easily cover the 13.5-point spread.
Yeah. Being a 13.5-point spread dog at home to Virginia Tech is not very it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in the Vanderbilt team.
The other SEC games are kind of tune-ups outside of two other ones. We've got Miami playing at Florida. That's a 2:30 ABC game. Miami's a 2.5-point favorite at Gainesville. It's kind of that, that game's typically been played at the end of the year or late in the year when Miami and Florida have met up. This year, we're getting it out of the way early. We'll see if Florida can start the season off with some momentum because God knows Billy Napier needs it as his seat is hotter than any other one in all of college football.
I think this game's really close. 2.5 points is fair, but I don't know which way I'd lean on that one because
the money line is Florida State at plus 115, so Vegas doesn't think it's almost even, more or less.
Right. I'd probably just go ahead and take Florida in the points then because I think they're good. I've just got this preconceived notion about what I've seen from what's his name, the coach at
Mario Cristobal, who can't manage time and timeouts.
Yeah. I just kind of think he's a bonehead, and in close games, it scares me to death. They've got a Washington State transfer, Cam Ward, is going to be their starting quarterback, and so I put a lot of, rightly or wrongly, I feel like I put a lot of stock in returning quarterbacks in the same system. I think they're just going to get better if they're capable of it. So I don't know. Florida may be sneaky this year.
Yeah. And Mertz was inconsistent last year, but when he was good, he was pretty good. I mean, he could find his spots. And like I said, another year in Napier's system might be just what he needed. They lost their big running back, Travis Etienne's younger brother, Trevor, transferred to Georgia. They lost a lot on offense. their O-line. We'll see. The other big game is also a home game at Kyle Field. This is huge, man. 2 big-time programs. Notre Dame has a lot of momentum once again. Feels like same song and dance. Every year, Notre Dame's a preseason top 10 team, even though Marcus Freeman and the Irish started off last year about as poorly as you could before finishing fairly strong. They're the number 7 ranked team, which is wild to me. I mean, I guess I should be used to it, like I just said. They play at number 20 Texas A&M in Mike Elko's first game at the helm for the Aggies after he returns. He was their DC there 2 years ago before going to Coach Duke. This is 6:30 primetime ABC game. A&M is a 3.5-point home favorite.
Yeah, which basically means 3-point home favorite means that if they were playing this game in, say, Charlotte, they'd be a pick 'em.
Exactly.
They see it virtually even. Texas A&M is that team this year that I'm just scared to death to put a stamp on either way because I can see it. There's a lot of buzz for Connor Wegman,
which is wild, right?
Going into it, which is wild. But like I've said on this show before, I'm totally ready to put all the blame on Jimbo. I'm not convinced that that's the problem. But if Texas A&M comes out and just whoops the snot out of Notre Dame and gets the ball rolling, I'm okay with that being the thought because I don't think Jimbo was a good coach.
No, and A&M returns a lot from a top 15, top 20 defense last year. Yes, Walter Nolan did transfer to Ole Miss, but they retooled with some guys. They've got a lot of guys back. They were good defensively last year. They just couldn't move the ball, and that was supposed to be Jimbo's bread and butter as an offensive coach. And that's the thing that makes me the most nervous and the most wild card for A&M. They're going to be able to stop people. They're going to play good defense because, again, that's where Elko hangs his hat, and they've got a lot of talent, future NFL talent on that side of the ball. The spectrum on Connor Wegman is so wide. You've got some people who say he's a dark horse for the Heisman, to people who are like me and you that are like, we don't really know. The sample size isn't that great. It's not that big, but it's not that great either. He was more like a game manager. Like, he didn't win a ton of games for him last year. He didn't necessarily lose a ton of games for him last year. But nothing that I saw from Connor Wegman in the back half of the season last year was just made me think that he's going to turn this program around.
Yeah. And, his coach was Jimbo Fisher. His OC was
Bobby
old
Petrino.
Motorcycle rider, Bobby Petrino. That game, I'll tell you this. I will make one guarantee. The loser of that game, I'm out on. Just
100%.
I'm out.
100%.
Because I'm not a Marcus Freeman fan. I saw an interview, I sent it to you, where he was talking to Big Cat and PFT on Part of My Take, and they kind of quizzed him with some analytic style. If you're down by 14 and you score a touchdown, do you go for 2 or do you kick the extra point? And he was like, I kicked the extra point, play for the tie, maybe we win in overtime. And I'm just like, nah, I'm out. Yeah, that got me on that. Yeah, unmute it. There you go.
Sorry, I muted myself to cough, and I hit the button. It didn't unmute, and I had to hit it again. But yes, so other than that, not any really big other top 25 matchups that we haven't already talked about. Memphis, our brethren here in the Mid-South, host the University of North Alabama for their home opener. UNA comes in 0-1. Sorry, guys, I might actually be rooting for UNA there. A little fun fact, my granddad signed the first football scholarship they ever offered. My great uncle's in their Football Hall of Fame. Maybe Roar Lions for one game, but Memphis is going to win that pretty handily. So don't hear what I'm not saying.
You could tell the people that aren't from around the North Mississippi area that we live, because I only heard them referred to as North Alabama and not UNA. The shorthand I've never heard them called North Alabama before.
Yeah, they've always been UNA. Yeah, I mean, I had to say it out loud so people would know, because I've always called them UNA, Roar Lions. Right. They were Florence State Teacher College when they started, and my granddad signed that scholarship in 1948 before becoming UNA. So, I grew up going to UNA games, and it was on. They play their games at what used to be Coffee High School, where my dad and granddad both played high school football. So, just some cool family connections there. But Memphis by 90. That game's not going to be close.
They got beat. I watched the UNA SEMO game last Saturday, and SEMO whipped them.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not going to be close. Yeah. But, Drew, we've talked about week 1. We're here. We're here. College football's back. We can officially rest on our laurels and, wish our significant others well for the next several months. Starting Thursday of us recording this, we've got college football for the next 5 days. It's never too early to start talking, postseason. And we'll start with our postseason awards. We're going to talk who we think are going to be the biggest players to watch this year. Afterwards, we'll talk about our college football playoff prediction. I've already kind of launched mine out there. If you've been paying attention to this network, I've got a little YouTube short out there where I tell you my top 4, a wild card, and my group of 5 team. But we're going to start with our postseason awards. Drew, every year there's always there's a Heisman favorite at the beginning of the year, and rarely do they go coast to coast as being the favorite. Last year, I think the odds-on favorite was Caleb Williams was going to repeat for the Heisman, and then he didn't do that. The year before, it was Bryce Young. They thought he was going to go back-to-back with Heismans, and he didn't. There's always that one dark horse that kind of comes up. I know my Heisman winner is a dark horse. Would you like for me to go first and reveal my team, or would you like to go first? I'll give you gentleman's choice.
Well, I mean, you're teasing it. Just go ahead and go with it.
Okay. As I'm fighting this cold, my voice is starting to crack a little bit on me. So, my 2024 college football award winners are as follows. I am going dark horse for Heisman here. I think that there's a real chance that Cam Rising of the Utah Utes is a really good quarterback this year. He's got a strong returning cast. Kyle Whittingham has an offense that fits him. He's dual threat. He runs the ball really well. He's smart. He's scrappy. I just like the guy. I think he's a likable guy that you can root for. And I'm kind of going all in, pushing my chips in on Cam Rising to win the Heisman. I think if he can be healthy, he has a real chance.
He will be the first 35-year-old Heisman winner ever.
That's it. He'll be the oldest one since like Josh White at Oklahoma back when he was like 31 winning it back in the early 2000s.
Don't talk to me about Jason White, the guy who beat Eli Manning for no reason at all.
Yeah. Coach of the year, I think Georgia is the best team. Typically, the coach of the year award goes to the coach of the best team, and I think that's Georgia. They're talented top to bottom. I look for Georgia to run the table, finish the regular season undefeated, and Kirby Smart win coach of the year. Doak Walker, maybe a shocker here to some. I think Quinshon Judkins is a phenomenal running back. He goes from a good situation at Ole Miss to a great situation at Ohio State, a great offensive line and support cast around him. I think Judkins is going to run. If he ran roughshod over the SEC defenses, he's going to friggin' feast on Big Ten defenses. Yeah. Davey O'Brien, I've said it in our episode a few weeks ago talking about Brady Cook from Missouri. Kid can flat spin it. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's going to get a ton of yards and stats throwing the ball to my Biletnikoff winner in Luther Burden III. He's probably the best wide receiver going into next year's NFL draft. He will be a top 3 to 5 pick. Big frame, big target. The biggest thing with him, he's been very durable. Knock on wood, as I say that, I don't want Missouri fans coming at me in the comments, but he's been very durable. And I think that combination of Brady Cook and Luther Burden III gets them the Davey O'Brien and Biletnikoff awards. The Mackey Award for the greatest tight end. I did some homework, did some digging. Amari Niblack at Texas has a real shot. When he was at Alabama, he only had like 18 catches or so last year, 20 catches, but 5 of them were touchdowns. And so like pretty high production rate, pretty high usage in the red zone. And I think Quinn Ewers has found him another big target. He's like that hybrid, kind of like Brock Bowers was, where he's not going to be the best blocker, although Brock Bowers could maul you much like George Kittle. Niblack is more the finesse, athletic tight end that can get out in space and get you some yards after a catch. I look for Niblack to win. Best defender in the Bronco Nagurski Award, it's Harold Perkins, not even close. One of the best linebackers we've seen in a long time in a storied position for the LSU Tigers. Harold Perkins defends sideline to sideline all 3 downs. And my Jim Thorpe Award for best defensive back is Bama transfer Caleb Downs, another one that went from a great situation in Alabama to a better one in Ohio State. I look for Caleb Downs to be the best defensive back this year.
I don't disagree with a lot of your lists. I do believe, well, I'm just getting into mine. We have some that are the same. My husband, Jalen Milroe, I think he's going to be absolutely incredible. And don't look ahead.
Sorry.
I think Kalen DeBoer's system fits Jalen Milroe so well. I think that everybody's waiting on Alabama to take a step back, but I don't think it'll be Jalen Milroe's problem if they do. I think that he's going to be great. Coach of the year. I didn't really have any good options.
I like it.
Jimbo Fisher, man, he's still making $70 million
to sit at the house. Watch football. He get paid to watch football.
Yeah. I don't care what anybody's team looks like next year. I'm going to vote for Jimbo Fisher to be coach of the year. So
It's incredible.
And what might be a shock to you, I also have Quinshon Judkins as the Doak Walker Award winner.
He's a stud, man.
He's really good. Ohio State always has a good running back. They feature a good running back every single year. I think he's really good. I think that that's the only player that left Ole Miss this year that, for football purposes, I hated to see him go. For team chemistry purposes, a lot of people were glad to see him go.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I've got my Davey O'Brien. So we planned out a lot more awards in here, and so I gave the Maxwell Award, which is like the number 2 I get, the backup Heisman rather, gave that to Dylan Gabriel, and then I went down the list to Davey O'Brien and gave it to Jackson Dart.
Yeah,
I believe that anybody who picks what's his name? Hold on,
Brady Cook.
I believe that anybody who picks Brady Cook over Jackson Dart just has an anti-Ole Miss agenda.
Oh my God.
Luther Burden is great. He is my Blitnikoff winner too. The difference in Missouri and Ole Miss and Jackson Dart and Brady Cook is that Jackson Dart has all the weapons. Brady Cook has just Luther Burden. And so
they returned their top 5 receivers, including their I'm going to pull up his name. I can't remember the other receiver's name, who was like, it was like Luther Burden, and then like just a step back was their other receiver.
I think Jackson Dart is going to put up ungodly numbers. It's like pulling up into Jay Leno's garage. You ever seen Jay Leno's garage? It's just toys everywhere, just fast cars anywhere you can look. Jackson Dart is going to have an incredible statistical year. Whatever you think about the record of the team, he is going to be great statistically. The Mackey Award, listen, I didn't do a lot of research. I picked Caden Priestcorn. I've seen him. He was a high draft prospect. He was a high draft prospect in the NFL draft, and he came back. And in a year where I don't think that there's not a Brock Bowers this year, I believe that Caden Priestcorn is going to be the perfect safety valve, red zone option for Ole Miss this year. And it's not a homer pick because I really wanted to just add several more Ole Miss players in here that I didn't. So this is the one I could have made the best case for.
Yeah.
Nagurski, we agree on this wholeheartedly. Harold Perkins is the best linebacker in football. He's quite possibly the best defender in football. And the Thorpe Award, I picked Travis Hunter. He's going to have the most eyeballs on him, and that matters when it's a media vote. He's going to have a ton of eyes. He's going to play both ways, and he is a good cornerback. And when he goes to the NFL, he will play cornerback primarily in the NFL. So that's my list. No real shockers, and I'm pretty bullish on most of them, especially my Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I feel like it could be. It's going to be Travis Hunter was who I was also considering, but I felt like that was kind of low-hanging fruit. Like he's an obvious one that, like you said, eyes are going to be on him. I think there's a chance. I really like Caleb Downs. He was really good at Alabama last year, but left because of Nick Saban leaving, and is going to be really, really good against Big Ten defense or offenses. And so I think either one of those guys are going to be solid choices to be Thorpe Award winners. So we've given you our players to watch. What about the teams we're wanting to watch? Uncle Buck, you want to go first here since I went first in my awards?
Sure. So we have lined up our college football playoff, our top 12. When I put this up on the screen, it's just going to take up the whole screen. So I'm going to flash it. Do you want to just flash it up and down? Like, I don't know how you want to do it, but
I could just leave it up and just talk behind it if you want.
All right, here we go. So here is my top 12. I have got the 4 seeds. So to lay this out for everybody, the top 4 seeds are not the 4 best teams. They are the 4 best conference
winners. Yeah.
So I've got Georgia winning the SEC. I've got Oregon winning the Big 10. I've got Utah winning the Big 12. And I have Virginia Tech winning the ACC, being the big surprise. I think the ACC is down. I'm not big on Clemson. I've seen
so
DJ.
You drank the Virginia Tech Kool-Aid, huh?
I'm giving you the reasons right now. I'm not big on Clemson. I'm not big on DJ Ukulele now because we've seen that for one game, and I just don't know. I've given you my reasons why I'm not a big fan of Miami. Virginia Tech has an easy schedule, and so I think it's just going to be between whoever makes their way to the conference championship game. And I think Virginia Tech will be one of them based on their schedule. So from then, the 5 seed, I've got Notre Dame. And it's not necessarily Kool-Aid. They play 3 ranked teams all year. And it is Florida State, which will be unranked before long. It is Texas A&M, and it is USC.
Wow.
Those are not world beaters. And the rest of the schedule is soft. This is how Notre Dame builds their credibility every single year. It's off a weak regular season schedule. And so based on a weak regular season schedule and the media's affinity for the Golden Domers, I think Notre Dame's number 5. 6, Bama. Jalen Milroe is my Heisman Trophy winner. 7, Penn State. Again, this is not a vote of confidence for Drew Aller or James Franklin. It's just another incredibly weak schedule. They play Michigan, they play Ohio State, and that's it. And I can make an argument that Michigan's going to fall down. So they could be the worst 11-1 team in history. I don't know, but I think they're going to win a lot of games. 8, I've got Ole Miss. This is how I see Ole Miss's season going. I think they lose to either Georgia or LSU and win the other one. Don't know which one it's going to be, but regular season in Oxford, I think Ole Miss beats Georgia, and I think Ole Miss loses to Georgia and Atlanta. That's how I've kind of seeded them here.
Wow.
So Ole Miss being that gets Ole Miss to the 8, the 9 being Texas. I just think they're good. They're the SEC team. I think the SEC gets at least 4 teams in. LSU. If LSU, again, I like Nussmeier. Their schedule as far as the SEC goes is fairly easy in the SEC. And I think the SEC has 4 teams get in. 11, Kansas. Easy schedule. As an at-large, I'm banking on for Kansas, them to having a good enough record, and I think the schedule's good enough for them to get to 9-3, 10-2, and the committee not want to put in a 5th SEC team. That's kind of what I'm banking on here.
And Jalen Daniels is good. Their quarterback is very good.
Yes, I like him if he's healthy. I can't remember their coach's name, but he's a heck of a football coach, and Lance Leopold.
There it is.
And I'm just kind of banking on them. I wanted to put some flavor in here. I think Kansas is going to be good, and their schedule stinks, you know. And 12, I got Boise State. I was between Boise State and Memphis. I wanted to pick Memphis. I think Memphis is really good. Memphis' schedule is going to come down to 2 games, a lot like those Big Ten schedules do. They come down to Penn State always lost to Ohio State and Michigan, and it comes down to 2 games. Memphis' 2 games are both on the road. They play at Tulane, and they play at shoot, I just went blank. But their other big game late in the season is on the road. And then they also play Florida State.
Is that SMU? No, it wouldn't be SMU. They're not a conference anymore.
SMU went to the ACC, but
I'm pulling it up right now. Keep going.
So I've got Boise State being 12. So that's my top 4. Everybody's wrong about their top 12 rather. Everybody's going to be wrong about their top 12.
Absolutely. Because we're fixing to show you where I'm going to be wrong on mine.
Right.
So yeah, we got college football coming up. It's kicking off. I think that mine is right. As of right now, before week 1, I think my list is better. So here we go. Our fans may like this better where they look at this instead of us. This might be a win for us going forward. So number 1, I got Georgia. Like I said already, I think they're going to run the table in the SEC. They're too talented not to. I have Ohio State. They added a lot in the transfer portal. They lost Marvin Harrison Jr., but they added Jeremiah Smith, who's one of the top wide receiver prospects out of high school ever. The kid is a potential star, and apparently he's already showed up and won the number 1 receiver job at Ohio State. So speaks volumes to me. I have Utah winning the Big 12, their first year in it. I've already said why I'm high on them between their coach and their quarterback. And then Clemson. I think Clemson loses week 1 to Georgia. The ACC is wide open. They have some championship pedigree under Dabo and some of the talent that they have. I think they find a way to do it. I don't buy Florida State. I definitely don't buy Virginia Tech. Somebody has to win it. I pick Clemson. And then in the 5-12 matchup, like Drew said, Texas is going to be awesome. Quinn Ewers is great. They added Isaiah Bond, Amari Niblack. Their defense is very good. They lost a couple guys to the NFL, including one of a Bednarik finalist and Chavondre Sweat, who plays for the Titans now. But I think Texas will host Memphis in the 5-12 matchup. I think Memphis is very good. Seth Hennigan can spin it. They've got a lot of talent. Rock Taylor is back on offense. They added Mario Anderson from South Carolina. Memphis got better, and I think they are like head and shoulders better in the AAC, to the extent there was a quote this week. I believe it was maybe the Tulane's new head coach basically just said that Memphis and South Florida are kicking everybody's butt in NIL, and I think Memphis has made themselves better through some good NIL deals. In the 8-9 matchup, I have Missouri and Alabama. I agree. I think Alabama takes the step back without Nick Saban, but Kalen DeBoer has won at every level he's ever coached at. Like you said earlier, you said it better than I ever would. Jalen Milroe was made to play quarterback for Kalen DeBoer, and I think he fits that system well. They're going to have a strong defense again, and if Tide fans can be patient with a 10-win season, give him a couple recruiting cycles and transfer portal classes, and Bama will be right back in the mix again. I'm high on Missouri. I think that Missouri is going to be a great team in the SEC. I've already talked about Cook and Burden. Their defense is good. Can they find some defensive line help is the big question that I was finding and doing my research, but Missouri's good. I'm not buying Ole Miss just yet. Call me a hater. That's fine. They're very talented, but Ole Miss just finds a way to Ole Miss. Like we're kind of the same. Like State's going to find a way to Mississippi State. Ole Miss finds a way to Ole Miss. And this team could very easily be, 10-2, 11-1, and sitting right here in this 8-9 game at the end of the year. I also could see some things not breaking their way and they win 9 games and be just on the outside, ranked 15th, 16th. Still a good season, but like a few breaks here and there. That's why I left Ole Miss out. I might be changed. My mind might be changed in a couple of weeks. In the 6-11 game, I have Kansas State, not what my spelling here says, but Kansas State. I like what they returned a ton. They've got a good young coach. Their defense is really good. They got hot late in the season last year. They're a good football team that I think could make some noise in the Big 12, particularly with no Texas, no Oklahoma. I'll look for them to be much better this year. Oregon, they added Dylan Gabriel to a really good football team. Dan Lanning is a great coach. I think Oregon is going to be right back in the thick of the Big 10, even though that's a new conference. They got a lot of road games that are a lot more travel than they're used to. But Dylan Gabriel is a great quarterback. I look for Oregon to be the 6th-ranked team. And then finally, 2 historic teams who can't win big games. James Franklin usually wins all the games he's supposed to, and he loses all the games that he's supposed to. He's a very chalk coach. Maybe this is the year they break through. I think they've got some offensive talent. They added a new OC, changing the system. But I think Penn State could be a team that's still playing late into January, along with Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State Cowboys. Again, no Texas, no Oklahoma. Those are 2 teams that historically he could not beat. I think this gives him a chance with the returning running game that they have. They've got a lot of their offensive production coming back. I think I read it was somewhere around the neighborhood of close to 50%, almost maybe just a little north of 50% of their offensive production coming back from last year. And I look for Oklahoma State to be a good team playing late into January for the Big 12. I think the SEC obviously is going to put the most teams in here, but I think the Big 12 could have a few more so than maybe the Big 10. But that's what I got. It's sure to be wrong. There's no reason to think any of these are going to be right. Uncle Buck, what are your thoughts on our list, how they stack up?
Well, first off, I just realized I left out Ohio State, so I guess they're going to suck just because I left them out. We're just going to fight. I probably just keep my mouth shut. There's no way in the world that Missouri returns a better team than what Ole Miss put together this offseason. There's just not that.
We're going to watch this again back in December. We'll see where we're at. And one of us may be right, one may be wrong.
Yes.
I think Ole Miss is going to be great. I do think Ole Miss is going to be great. I do. But
the only reason you're putting your eggs in the Missouri basket is so you don't put them in the Ole Miss basket.
I put them in there last year, and I was pretty accurate about them.
Yeah, you said they were going to be better than 5.5 wins, which, you're right about that. But
I said they were going to finish second behind Georgia in the East.
Ole Miss and Missouri, by a lot of measures, or by a lot of opinions, are peers this year. They're ranked closer together.
Agreed.
And I'm telling you, the only reason why Missouri is in yours is because you didn't want to put Ole Miss in it.
I've been high on Missouri ever since we started talking college football. Last year, this year, I'm big on Brady Cook, Luther Burden. You can watch every one of our episodes here. I'm big on Missouri, and I literally rewind like 4 minutes ago. I said I could see Ole Miss in this game, but I'm picking Missouri. I could see either one of them being there. I said that.
Yeah, you said it, which is true. You can see it, but you're not going to say it. Nope,
no, I'm not.
Nope.
But I just said that 4 minutes ago. I said they could be there, but I chose Missouri instead.
Ole Miss is going to have PFF has them as a top 5 defensive line in the country. Missouri does not have that. They have Luther Burden. They have Brady Cook. I'm sorry. We've got the coaching advantage. We got the quarterback advantage. We got the weapons advantage and the defensive line advantage. They're not going to be better than Ole Miss.
They returned their linebackers and secondary are going to be very good. They lost 2 defensive linemen to the first round of the NFL draft. So it's not like they lost.
They don't play for Missouri anymore.
But I'm saying they can recruit and they can build defensive line. Like before, let me finish my point. They can build and recruit defensive linemen. I don't think there's going to be a huge drop off from a good unit last year.
I don't think there's going to be necessarily a huge drop off either. But I do think Ole Miss elevated themselves.
Of course you do.
And I'm right.
But in your mind, maybe that may be the case.
Yeah. Here's like public opinion of Ole Miss, like universally, and like here's Rusty. Like, let me back up.
I wouldn't say it's that far.
Yeah.
I just said they're going to still win. Like their floor is 9 wins. That's still a really good top 20 season. And I think you can admit that their floor is 9 wins. Like there's some realities where like there could be some breaks.
I'm scared to death.
Like there's some breaks.
Terrified.
Yeah, there's some breaks that may not go your way, and the Egg Bowl always gets screwy. You never know what's going to happen. Typically, like a first-year coach who's not supposed to win it wins it, and then you've got Georgia, Texas. You got some tough games that you could lose in there. That's all I'm saying.
I am terrified. I do not like these expectations.
No.
I do not like how strongly I feel about this team. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the 2022 Ole Miss baseball team that did away with a lot of my Ole Miss can never do it, we're cursed, then I would feel a lot worse about this team just because I don't like the expectations. But the expectations are legit, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to see Walter Nolan ragdoll a bunch of people on Saturday. These poor Furman guys, I don't even know what their mascot is.
The Paladins or Paladins or something like that, because we talked about it in college basketball. They were in our 2 Buck Sports Show March Madness poll back in March as one of the teams. I think they're like the Paladins or something like. Anyway, Furman. Walter Nolan is going to hurt them.
Famous alumni from Furman?
Bear Reinhardt. Need to breathe. He's our all-time leading receiver.
Bear Reinhardt, the lead singer of our favorite band, Need to Breathe.
He used to be the conference's all-time leading receiver, but that got passed by somebody. But he's still the Furman all-time leading receiver. If you look at him, you wouldn't think that dude played wide receiver, but he did.
That program's got a very poor history. If that white dude is their leading receiver,
clearly they're NAIA or whatever they are. Like it's not. It ain't a big-time college program. But hey, man, this was a great episode, man. It's always like, this is fun banter for us. We love getting feisty and talking college football, particularly when it comes to our favorite schools. So, like, rest easy. We'll be back and be more than friends next week. Once again, it'll be awesome. It'll be a good show. Everything's going to be smooth, especially when both of our teams start off the season 1-0. Kick your feet up. Watch some college football. Guys, we made it. If you're one of our significant others, Maggie, you're still here. Haley, give us some breathing room this weekend. We want to see y'all, but we also want to watch college football. It's our time of the year. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and we made it. We finally made it. It's here. It's here.
Yep. For the next 14 weeks straight, we are just going to have something to do every single Saturday. That's great.
It. Sorry, I'm just busy.
Yeah, busy. Don't ask me to do anything.
Yeah.
Unless you want to cook out and watch football.
That's it. Then I'll do that. I'll do that.
Yeah.
But listen, what you heard here today is our opinion only. We can't help it that we are right and we only spit facts, and that your opinions are different than ours, and that makes you wrong and not us. So we're sorry about that. But you don't get any refunds for anything you heard here on our show today.
That's right. Because with the $2, you only get what you pay for. And that's not much. So everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy college football. We'll see you here next Friday.
Thank you for listening to the 2 Buck Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next